an editorial defense analysis examining South Korea's military readiness and regional security.
The recent finalization of an export agreement valued at approximately $4 billion for the K239 Chunmoo multiple launch rocket system marks more than just a financial milestone. It signals a definitive shift in the architecture of the global defense market, specifically regarding the proliferation of precision fires capabilities among non-NATO, aligned but Western-oriented militaries. While the scale of the transaction draws immediate attention, the deeper structural implication for the South Korean defense industry lies elsewhere. It is the transition from being a supplier of gap-filler hardware to becoming a provider of comprehensive strategic strike complexes. This evolution suggests that the Republic of Korea is successfully capitalizing on the acute supply chain constraints currently affecting the United States defense industrial base. It effectively positions the K239 not merely as an alternative to the M142 HIMARS, but as a distinct platform, one that offers a divergent operational philosophy suited to high-intensity regional conflicts. From an industrial standpoint, the saturation of American production lines due to sustained commitments in Eastern Europe and the Indo-Pacific has created a significant capability vacuum in the Middle East. Traditional partners in the region, who base their security architecture on American interoperability, are finding that lead times for systems like the HIMARS or GMLRS munitions have extended beyond acceptable risk thresholds. South Korea has leveraged its maintained hot production lines to offer an immediate remedy to this procurement latency. However, this dynamic introduces a complex, long-term dependency. By securing such a substantial foothold, the South Korean industry is moving beyond simple export. It is entering a phase of logistical entrenchment, where the sustainability of the buyer's artillery corps becomes inextricably linked to the supply chains of Hanwha Aerospace and the broader Korean energetic materials sector. The technical configuration of the export package highlights a deliberate doctrinal divergence from current American trends. While the U.S. Army has prioritized strategic mobility and air transportability. With the lighter 6x6 chassis of the HIMARS, the K239 utilizes an 8x8 platform, capable of carrying 2 pods of munitions rather than 1. This design choice reflects a preference for volume of fire and sustained saturation capability over rapid air deployment, a trade-off that resonates with Middle Eastern militaries operating in vast open deserts, where heavy ground mobility is less constrained than in the archipelagic geography of the Pacific. The ability to launch 12 239mm guided rockets, or 2 tactical ballistic missiles in a single salvo, suggests that the buyer is prioritizing a high density of firepower per maneuver unit, effectively doubling the strike weight of comparable American formations. A critical component of this acquisition logic is the integration of the CTM-290 tactical ballistic missile. This system, an export derivative of the KTSSM, provides a capability that navigates the sensitive constraints of the missile technology control regime, while offering a functional equivalent to the American ATACMS. The availability of such a deep strike asset, without the arduous political conditionalities often attached to American foreign military sales, represents a significant selling point. It indicates that Seoul is willing to provide offensive capabilities that bridge the gap between tactical artillery and strategic missile forces, a niche that has been historically underserved by Western suppliers wary of escalating regional arms races. For the South Korean military, the mass production of the CTM-290 for export creates an economy of scale that likely lowers the unit cost for its own domestic procurement, creating a virtuous cycle where export success directly subsidizes national defense modernization. However, the requirement for localization and technology transfer inherent in this deal introduces potential risks to the integrity of South Korean intellectual property and quality control. Middle Eastern procurement policy has aggressively shifted towards demanding domestic production facilities, as seen in Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 initiatives. While establishing local assembly lines solidifies the diplomatic partnership, it essentially exports the industrial base itself. This decentralization of manufacturing capability means that South Korea must manage the risk of technology leakage and the challenge of maintaining stringent quality standards in facilities outside its direct jurisdiction. Furthermore, helping a partner nation achieve ammunition sovereignty eventually reduces their dependence on direct imports, forcing the South Korean industry to continuously innovate to maintain its value proposition in future upgrade cycles. Operational interoperability remains another area requiring nuanced analysis. While the K239 is physically capable of firing pods compatible with U.S. munitions, the digital integration into a U.S.-centric command, control, communications, computers, and intelligence architecture poses a more subtle challenge. Middle Eastern air and missile defense networks are predominantly American. The seamless integration of Korean fire control systems into this architecture via Link 16, or similar data exchange standards, is technically feasible but politically complex. It requires the United States to tacitly approve the deep integration of a third-party non-NATO system into the sensitive digital backbone of its regional allies. The success of this deal implies that Washington views South Korean industry as a complementary asset that unburdens the American industrial base rather than a competitive threat, essentially allowing Seoul to serve as the arsenal for the secondary tier of the American alliance network. There is also the matter of combat validation. The M142 HIMARS has achieved a near-mythical status due to its proven efficacy in the Ukrainian theater, providing a marketing advantage based on empirical lethality. The K239 Chunmoo, conversely, relies on superior paper specifications and the industrial reputation of the K9 Thunder self-propelled howitzer. While the K9 has seen widespread adoption, the K239 has yet to demonstrate its resilience and precision in a contested electronic warfare environment against a peer adversary. This lack of combat provenance means that the buyer is taking a calculated risk on the system's reliability, banking on South Korea's rigorous testing standards rather than battlefield performance. This places immense pressure on the manufacturer to ensure that the initial deliveries perform flawlessly, as any technical failure would be magnified by the lack of a combat track record. The financial magnitude of the deal also reshapes the internal dynamics of South Korean defense acquisition. A contract of roughly $4 billion injects substantial capital into the research and development ecosystem, potentially accelerating the development of next-generation improvements such as the Chunmoo 2 or advanced hypersonic payloads. It mitigates the boom and bust cycle inherent in domestic procurement, allowing defense firms to retain skilled engineering talent and maintain capital investment in advanced manufacturing techniques. This stability is crucial for the Republic of Korea Army, which faces a demographic cliff and must increasingly rely on automation and superior firepower to offset a shrinking conscript pool. A robust export market effectively outsources the overhead costs of maintaining the defense industrial base required to defend the Korean peninsula. Ultimately, the proliferation of such advanced strike systems by South Korea into volatile regions reflects a maturation of its foreign policy, moving from passive commerce to active strategic engagement. By arming a major Middle Eastern power with the capacity for deep operational strikes, Seoul inevitably becomes a stakeholder in the regional security dynamic. The weapons provided will shape the deterrence calculus of the buyer and their adversaries. This transition from a commercial vendor to a strategic partner brings with it reputational risks should these systems be employed in controversial contexts, a variable that South Korean policymakers have historically sought to avoid. The deal thus represents a complex trade-off between immediate economic gain and industrial expansion. against the long-term responsibilities and entanglements of becoming a primary provider of lethal force in a contested geopolitical theater.